With the first round of this year's NFL draft already over, we have seen major moves in the draft. We see, the typical Trevor Lawrence going first overall. We even saw massive trade-ups like the New York Jets trading up with the Vikings and the Chicago Bears trading up with the Giants to number 11 to take their guy of the future. But we also saw big surprises when it came to team selections, like 2 cornerbacks going to 2 teams that people thought might select Justin Fields. And players fell straight into laps of other teams, like in Detroit's case and in the New England Patriots case. But today I'm going to talk about the five main quarterbacks. You see, there were 6 big name quarterbacks in this year's draft: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, and Justin Fields. All of those guys going into the first round. And then there was Kyle Trask, who will most likely be a second round pick. But let's talk about the 5 big name quarterbacks of the 6 drafted in the first round. And it's kind of obvious which quarterback we're talking about first, the first overall pick. With this year's first overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Trevor Lawrence, quarterback out of Clemson. To be honest, there's not much that we can truly talk about this pick. Trevor Lawrence has been considered to be a generational talent, on the same line as John Montana, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, right? He's in that category of quarterback coming into the draft. John Elway won Super Bowls. Peyton Manning won Super Bowls. Andrew Luck was a 4-time Pro Bowler and won Comeback Player of the Year, but retired due to the fact that their general manager at the time didn't even take care of their own line, which caused Andrew Luck to get beaten so hard, get beaten and pummeled to the point where he flat out couldn't take it and retired, despite the fact that the last year Andrew Luck played, their O-line was in the top 5. And ever since then, their O-line has been top 5 for best offensive line in the league. Like, it's phenomenal. But here's the thing with Trevor Lawrence, right? Their O-line is okay. The problem here is Jacksonville's O-line is okay, but it's old, like veteran O-line, right? And it's something that they have to cover, right? Because when you look at what they picked Trevor Lawrence, a quarterback, and then they brought in running back Travis Etienne from Clemson to reunite Lawrence and Etienne. The problem here, though, the major problem is that simply this. What O-line would have been there? Well, there are many possible O-line picks. Let me tell you a couple O-line picks that, could have been there. That Jacksonville could have been there. No, in fact, I'm going to say that Jacksonville could have traded up a couple picks. And let me show you which pick they could have got. 2 picks in front of Jacksonville, where the Vikings were. They could have traded up and picked Christian Dursaw, O-line for Virginia Tech. They could have done that. They could have flat out done that. But they want to pick a running back. Hell, even if they weren't gonna pick an O-line, they could have picked something. but they picked a running back, which is weird because their best player last year was James Robinson, a running back. And let me tell you who they could have picked for defense. Greg Newsome II, Peyton Turner, defensive end, Eric Stokes, Gregory Rousseau, Jason Oha, Joe Tryon. Two of them were linebackers. Two of them were defensive ends. One of them was a corner. But two of them were actually corners. In fact, the only other player that they could have picked that wasn't a running back, that wasn't on the defense, Rashad Bateman, which would have been another target for Lawrence to throw to. It's just a little weird to me that they picked a running back in the first round. Like, I get it, the Steelers needed a running back, but at least the Steelers needed a running back. Granted, the Steelers have more problems than the running back, but they didn't need a running back, and they picked a running back anyway. So, I'm sorry, that's not even on Lawrence. I'm just rambling about Jacksonville's stupidity on running back. But the problem here is going to be if Trevor Lawrence can succeed with Urban Meyer and the team that the Jacksonville Jaguars have. You know, they brought in Marvin Jr., they brought in they brought in the corner from Seattle. You know, they did a couple of things in the offseason. But who knows? Maybe they'll succeed, right? But they're in that tough division, right? You have the Tennessee Titans, who made the playoffs and won the division last year with Tannehill and Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown. They brought in Dupree. They just drafted Caleb Farley. They have a couple of pieces. The Colts, who will only succeed if Carson Wentz turns out that he only failed because of the pieces around him in Philadelphia and the Houston Texans. But we don't talk about that dumpster fire for an organization. But yeah, Lawrence, he's only going to succeed if Jacksonville allows him to. And to be honest, I don't know. You know, the only problem here for Jacksonville fans, aside from that, is Gardner Minshew. What do you do with Gardner Minshew? Because despite the fact he's a 6th round pick, Minshew's actually good. Like, he's an actual good quarterback. He's not good like Tom Brady, but he's good. I compare them because, they're both 6th round picks. But the point is, what do you do with Gardner Minshew? Do you trade him? Do you do what I believe the Patriots, the Bears, the 49ers are going to do, which is let the quarterback sit for a year and then bring him in? Because Lawrence does not seem to be the type of guy that would sit behind for a year. No, I don't think he would. And even if he decided he would the organization allow that? Probably not. So, it's just a big question on the organization. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. But, speaking about organizations that do a terrible job, let's talk about who picked 2nd overall in the New York Jets. With the 2nd overall pick, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU. Now, this is an interesting pick because before the draft happened, well, not before the draft, before the combine, basically by the end of the season, it was Trevor Lawrence and then Justin Fields and then Trey Lance and Mac Jones around that area. Zach Wilson came out of nowhere, right? People realized, hey, this guy looks like Mahomes. He's going to be good. The guy came from BYU. Which is interesting, right? Because that's a little concerning. You're putting everything on a guy who just blew up as soon as the season ended for college football. And I don't know, that's giving me some Mitchell Trubisky vibes, if I'm going to be honest. Like, it's a little concerning, if I will say myself, but Zach Wilson does have some upside. He's not with Adam Gase. No, he's with Robert Saline, who was the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. And let me just say this. Let me say this with concern to Jets fans, alright? As great as Zach Wilson could possibly be, there are major concerns. Number one, his development. Unlike Trevor Lawrence, who could just flat out just play a game normally, rather than sit behind a guy, Zach Wilson might need to. Zach Wilson might need to sit behind a quarterback. But there's a little problem with that. They got rid of all the quarterbacks. They got rid of Sam Darnold. They traded him to Carolina. They traded Joe Flacco to the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. But the problem is, so he's going to be the starter. But if this goes wrong, the Jets are going to look fucking stupid. So his development is a problem. The Jets, not even the Jets, no, New York is a problem because how will he handle the media in New York? That's concerning because the media in New York is, it is a different beast compared to other states of America. And a other problem that I found out recently, Zach Wilson might actually be one of the harder quarterbacks for you to develop for a different reason rather than just normal developing issues. When I mean for him to understand and to learn and adapt. Despite the fact that Zach Wilson has played incredible football in BYU, Zach Wilson has ADHD, meaning that he has a harder time basically learning, right? Paying attention and stuff like that. Now, am I saying that he's going to fail because of a condition that he has? No. Right? He's the second overall pick. he did a pretty good job, even if he had ADHD. Even if he didn't have ADHD, the fact that he was second overall is incredible. If Trevor Lawrence was in this draft, he would have been the first overall pick in the draft. The point is, compared to other quarterbacks like Mac Jones, compared to Justin Fields, compared to Trey Lance, compared to Trevor Lawrence, hell, even Kyle Trask, who is probably a second or third round pick, depending on how it goes, they might actually have an easier time understanding their playbook compared to Zach Wilson. And, the Jets, they did select an O tackle. They did select Verera Tucker from USC. A little complicated, but the point is, hopefully he can develop correctly. Hopefully his condition doesn't affect him too much, and hopefully he doesn't give a damn about the media. So that's a little concerning. But if he gets those out of the way, he should be good. I don't know how good he will be, but he will be good. And he needs to be good in a division where there's Tua, second picked MVP, Josh Allen, and the 15th overall pick in this year's draft, Mac Jones. So he needs to be better than all these guys for the Jets to succeed. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Gotta. I don't expect Zach Wilson to be better than Josh Allen, if I'm going to be frank. But aside from Josh Allen, it's open season from here. He might be better than Tua. He might be better than Jones. But it's all going to be on how the Jets develop him. That's how good Wilson can be. And there's the pieces around him because they don't have a running back because Frank Gore. Despite the fact that he's going to be a Hall of Famer, is he really the guy you want as a running back? But hopefully they know that and draft a running back in the second, maybe third round. They have Corey Davis. They have Jamie Crowder. They have a couple pieces in the defense, mainly May and Quinn Williams. So, I don't know. It's just going to be on the Jets to develop him, as well as Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars. But there's another guy I want to talk about, and this is an interesting pick. The third overall pick, the 49ers. With the third overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Trey Lance, quarterback from North Dakota State. Well, we know for sure Mac Jones was originally supposed to be the guy. A couple days before the draft started, Trey Lance became the guy. Now, Trey Lance, if I can compare him to any quarterback in this year's draft, he is the North Dakota State version of Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills. To a point, to a T. Big arm, scrambler, can run, really raw, needs to go to a good situation. The difference is Josh Allen had to learn by himself in his first year. Second year to third, major development. The team around him was incredible. But the 49ers, unlike the Bills, were already stacked. The only reason the 49ers weren't good this year was because of injuries. And the only reason why they even got a quarterback was because of injuries. Not just this season, but Jimmy Garoppolo being injury prone. And he knows that. Kyle Shanahan even confirmed that the injuries were the main reason why they were going to take a quarterback. Trey Lance is kind of perfect for this offense in a way. He is something completely different than the typical Kyle Shanahan quarterback. Because people thought Mac Jones was going to be the next Kirk Cousins. When I mean Kirk Cousins, I don't mean Kirk Cousins in a bad way. I mean the type of quarterback he's looking for. Of course, the best scenario would be that Mac Jones would have became Matt Ryan. MVP season Matt Ryan. When they lost a Super Bowl. Which we'll talk about pick 15 when we do get to that point in the stage. But the point is, if Kyle Shanahan molds Trey Lance into the guy they need him to be, that will be phenomenal. Imagine the NFC West. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Trey Lance. That is incredible, right? And who knows, maybe Trey Lance will literally become the NFC version of Josh Allen. If he does, that'd be phenomenal. But, basically, if you want my advice, I want to understand, literally go through Josh Allen getting drafted and going through what commentators talk about. If you take that and put it in Trey Lance's situation, it's basically identical in a way. So in many ways, just take what you learned from Josh Allen and put it with Trey Lance. But what if your quarterback history isn't good? What if you are very desperate? But who's more desperate than the 49ers, right? Who could be more desperate? The Giants are picking. They traded with the Chicago Bears. Speaking of which, with the 11th overall pick, the New York Giants traded the 11th pick with the Chicago Bears to select Justin Fields, quarterback at Ohio State. This is... It's good for Chicago. If I was Justin Fields, I would want to kill myself because, as a quarterback who played for Chicago stated himself, if you end up in Chicago, you will die there. Or on the lines of, if you're a quarterback for Chicago, you will suffer, right? This is a team where Jay Cutler, who is actually really underrated, to be honest, like, especially on personality issues, he was actually pretty good. Jay Cutler is a top 3 quarterback, though. Jay Cutler, when they won the Super Bowl in '85, they had just an okay quarterback. I don't even know his name. So, yeah. Anyway, someone can tell me in the comment section down below. But the point is simply this. Justin Fields is going to struggle. And here's why. The Bears have no offensive line. The Bears only have Allen Robinson on a franchise tag who wants to get out of Chicago so badly. Like, he wanted to leave that shitty organization so much. And, yeah, Justin, if I were you, I would want to leave. I would want to play terribly on purpose and then get yourself out of Chicago. Go to a different team. Maybe Detroit. Maybe the Steelers when Big Ben's done. Maybe go to New Orleans. I don't know. Just look, Bears. Look, Bears fans. This isn't a diss on you. This is a diss on your shitty organization who've been mistreating you guys desperately, right? This is a team who loves football over the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was playing. Imagine that. They preferred the Bears over Michael Jordan. The Bears over Michael Jordan. That is really sad, to be honest. But that shows how loyal they are to this organization. And you know what this organization has done, the Bears fans? They picked up a pipe. They found a rusty, abandoned apartment, and they shoved it up their ass, and they died from it. They are killing their fans with this shitty organization, these shitty teams. Khalil Mack, on Robinson. I feel bad. Thank God that Kyle Fuller got fucking released. And now in Denver, thank God that happened. But it's a great pick for the Bears, but this looks very desperate. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, they're gonna get fired if this fails. They're gonna get fired. And they're gonna rebuild again. Oh god. Yeah, no, this is a desperate move for sure, and god, it was surprising. I didn't think they were gonna trade up this high. And they gave them a lot of picks. But, that's the Bears for you. They're like LA. Except they only do it for quarterbacks. So, actually, no, LA did the same thing. Well, yeah, anyway. But, what if you're patient? What if you don't even trade up one spot, and yet you end up with a quarterback who secretly wanted to play for your team? Let's talk about Mac Jones, shall we? And with the 15th pick and the final pick in this year's NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Mac Jones, quarterback, Alabama. Now, this is an interesting pick because originally people thought they were going to get Justin Fields. And that most mock drafts actually had the New England Patriots trade up with the Dallas Cowboys to select Justin Fields for the 10th overall pick. There are a couple of problems with Mac Jones. And let me tell you a couple of examples. Number one, which school he went to? Alabama. Why is that a problem? Well, if you don't know anything about Alabama, They have, I don't know, they have the best recruits in the entire nation. Basically meaning that, your receivers, your tight ends, your running backs, they might boost up your stats a tad bit. But the point is, we don't know how good Mac Jones can be, especially on a New England Patriots team, which, if this was last year, goddamn, he would have struggled. But now, this might actually look good. Because here's the thing. Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Sonny Michel, the return of Mac Jones and Damien Harris back together again. The point is simple. We'll see how good Mac Jones is without, your Jalen Waddles, your Devontae Smiths, your I don't know, your Najee Harris's, But let's talk about the second thing. Out of all the quarterbacks, Mac Jones was the least mobile, which you might think, oh, that's a terrible thing. You might think, oh, that's terrible? Well, that's great. But let me tell you something. There's a certain man out there called, microphone. Microphone. You might have heard of him. Over 100K subscribers. Who states this: if Peyton Manning was drafted in this time, in this era, he would be out of the league because of how bad he is. You know what else doesn't help? Him not being mobile. And to be honest, I kind of believe that. I kind of believe Peyton Manning would have been out of this league if he was drafted in this era. I actually believe that. But here's the thing. The New England Patriots has, I don't know, maybe a top 5 offense line. Well, with Trent Brown coming back, from Las Vegas, with them trading for a couple players, with Marcus Cannon coming back, it's just phenomenal. The offensive line's great. They added receiver talent. The defense is better. But here is the thing, though. The one big thing I little concerned about. It's the development of Mac Jones, right? Mac Jones is like a Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan type, right? You want Mac Jones to, he reminds you of Kirk Cousins, but you want to be as good as Matt Ryan. We're not saying that Kirk Cousins is bad, because I actually like Kirk Cousins. I actually like a lot of underrated guys like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, all those type of guys. But the point is, I keep saying to the point is, but Cam Newton isn't really a type of guy that Mac Jones is like. Now, if the Patriots drafted Trey Lance or they traded for Justin Fields, drafted, right? You could see that connection. But it's Mac Jones, a Kirk Cousins type, versus Cam Newton, a older veteran version of Lamar Jackson. You see what I mean? Like, those are two different types of quarterbacks. But, we're going back to the Brady type of style, so I'm happy about Mac Jones getting drafted. I think he will do good. I mean, he will have to do good because he's in a division with Tua, who this might be a make or break year for him. Josh Allen, second in votes for MVP, and second overall pick Zach Wilson in the same draft. So, hopefully, the scheme works for Mac Jones. Hopefully, he'll learn enough for Cam Newton to succeed. Hopefully his connection with Bill Belichick works. I mean, Mac Jones secretly wanted to play for the New England Patriots. So, I mean, this was a perfect match in heaven, aside from the whole learning from Cam Newton, because two different types of quarterbacks. And don't make it seem like Cam Newton's bad. Cam Newton was a good quarterback put in the worst situation. right? With COVID, him having COVID, having no targets to throw to, just in general. It was not good for Cam Newton last year, but I believe it will do well for him this year, especially him having a full offseason to learn the playbook. So, with that out of the way, I believe that's it for the 5 quarterbacks, and then we might talk about Kyle Trask when he does get drafted. So now you guys know my thoughts on pick 1, 2, 3, 11th, and 15th. I believe that all of them could be good quarterbacks, depending on how they are developed and schemed. I mainly mean the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 15th. Look, if Justin Fields turns out to be great because of Chicago, then I'll dig you. I was wrong, but Chicago. I'm sorry for any Chicago fans, but do you really think Justin Fields will be the guy? No. Justin Fields will fail because of Chicago, not because he's bad. If Justin Fields went to Washington, he would succeed. If he went to if he went to Detroit, he might have actually succeeded. But the Bears, they're so desperate they might just chuck Justin Fields in second game in, despite the fact that Andy Dalton won that game. Like, okay. If you guys enjoyed, I will talk about every single pick in the draft and probably do a hater's guide. So with that out of the way, hope you guys enjoy. I'm Patron Wild, and I'll see you guys when I draw my next video. Goodbye.